G'day Club 18 stars and welcome back to the Club 18 Legends interview series for episode 6. I'm Ryan Pritchard or Rhino. Deeks interviewed me in episode 4. Check it out if you haven't already. I played from 2000 to 2004 and coached in 2005. So far, what Deeks has done has been amazing. I think it rivals The Last Dance in my opinion. Keep sending your feedback. Keep your ideas for future interviews coming. We really love it. This week, we're talking to a past player that is one of the club's biggest legends, literally and figuratively. He's kicked 100 goals in multiple seasons. He's given opposition defenders nightmares. His name is Brett Cougar Cartlidge. Before we get to Cougs, we just want to say that this series is something to give the current list that aren't able to get on the field this year something to look at. It's a way of blending some of the past traditions and experiences with the current day players, and hopefully after this crisis passes, will provide us a great link to get everyone back around and supporting the mighty Club 18. We have one rule for this series. Sit back and grab a beer to enjoy the story. I learnt my lesson last week. Grab 2 beers because I talk a lot, okay? So don't be afraid to strap in. Also, don't forget to turn the heater on or a jumper. Apologies for those that heard my teeth chattering for the whole goddamn episode. All right, here we go. Today, we're going to talk to Club 18 royalty, 100 kilo, 100 goal kicking, pack busting, mark taking automaton. Welcome to the series, Brett Cartlidge. Cougs.
Cheers, Rhino. Great to be here.
Mate, exciting times. How are you? Have you seen any of the previous episodes?
I've watched all the previous episodes and like you alluded to, Michael Jordan's Last Dance, there's a lot of buzz about that, but this is where the real scuttlebutt, the real behind-the-scenes stuff, that's what you find out about.
Fantastic.
And also, 100 kilos. I was 100 kilos. Now I'm probably 100 plus GST post-career.
I think we're all a little bit over our playing weight these days, mate. There's no harm, no foul in that, but you're still very tidy. So, Coop, tell us how it all started for you. How did you get to the club?
Yeah, well, I was playing for East Burwood, and it wasn't a great, the Rams. It wasn't a great fit for me. They loved training. It was very, very competitive, and I just wasn't enjoying my footy that much. And I mentioned it to Kane Fetterplace, who knew Tim Hanardi, I think through work, but I'm not sure exactly how. And he said, well, Tim plays for this team. He was always going on about how they, have a good time, enjoy a beer, head down the pub. They play hard during when the game's on, but apart from that, there's a real social aspect to it. And it sort of piqued my interest. So he goes, go down to training on Wednesday and say hi to Tim and just see how you go. So I went down to training. On the way there, I must have forgotten what year.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the last year of Q. Was that 99?
Yeah, could have been. I think it was
either the last or second last.
98.
98. Yeah, 98. Yeah, that would be about the time. I think I was there for the last year of Q. And, so I went to training, completely forgot Tim's name on the drive over there. Walked in, all the blokes sort of turn around, who's this guy? And I said, I'm here to speak to Greg. And they go, well, there's no Greg. And I go, yeah, this is Q. And they go, yeah, it's Q. I go, well, yeah, I'm here to speak to Greg. And they go, do you mean Tim? And I go, nah, Greg. And then Tim comes over and goes, hi, I'm Tim. And I go, hi, Tim. Do you know Greg? And he's like, do you know Kane Fetterplace? And I go, yeah. And he goes, mate, there's no Greg. I'm Tim. I was expecting you to come down. And I go, oh, geez, I'm sorry. For the rest of the training, he got called Greg, obviously, because everyone was sort of listening to what I was saying. He was lucky that nickname didn't stick.
Forever. I'm spewing that didn't stick.
Yeah, it just didn't stick. So he hung on to Ruben somehow. And that was the first training, which was a bit of a disaster personally. And then there was the game on Saturday, of course, where I went down. And I'm wondering what percentage of your viewers played their first game under their first name or under their real name. Because in my day, it was just an absolute rabble admin side. And I went down there and Nick O'Day came up and said, couple of things. Today your name's Goo and you'll be playing in the ruck. And I said, excuse me? And he's like, well, yeah, Goo, I've got to promise you, it's not a stitch up. Goo's a real nickname. It sounds ridiculous, but there is a guy called Goo out there and you're going to be called Goo. And I was...
also a cop.
Yeah, also, yeah. Well before the time where I joined the police force. And I was sort of like, well, I don't mind the nickname so much. It's just this playing in the ruck thing that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, look around. I looked around and we had a pretty small side back there. So I obviously thought, well, he's just over 6 foot, so that'll do. And next thing I know, they're balling the ball up in the air and, it goes down and the first kick was a barrel. It was a torpedo. It's spinning this way and everyone stops what they're doing. Barrel! And I was kind of like, what is this? And someone's running past and goes, anytime someone kicks a torpedo, you've got to scream barrel, you've got to scream barrel. And I was like, yeah, but it was them. They kicked the ball. And he's like, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're kicking the ball back after a goal. If it's a torpedo, you say barrel. And so that was my introduction. And then obviously we won the game. And then you hear this song. You hear this.
Yeah.
The lyrics. Some lyrical genius has put together his stuff, and that's where I really found out, we love our grog, beer, bourbon, vodka, and gin. Beer and chicks are things that count, and that's when I really knew it was a good fit for me.
Wow, that's beautiful. I've got it. You're gonna love it when my episode comes out. The start of the story is almost identical. It's amazing.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a common theme of blokes playing their first game under an alias.
Yeah. Wasn't Ryan Guppy's dad like the team manager then? I thought he would have been organised.
No, they weren't organised for me. I was good for the first couple of games, I think.
So you started in 98. You played, do you know how many games you played?
For Q or overall?
For overall.
I think I might have been approaching sort of 150 mark, I guess.
146.
Oh, okay. Oh, I fell far short.
I've combed the archives. Do you want to have a guess about how many goals you kicked?
Well, I wouldn't have kicked many at Q because I was bloody playing in the ruck and across half back. They only probably started coming the last few years playing full forward. No, I wouldn't have a clue. Tell me.
So I did all the match reports and everything in 2003, and I got all this stuff on you for your player profile that was meant to be me interviewing you, but I didn't ask you a single question. I just filled it all out myself. You had kicked 354 goals to the end of 2003, and then from 2006 to 2017, you kicked, and there's a bit of a gap in the middle there, you kicked another 71. And so Ivac and I took it upon ourselves to use the Duckworth-Lewis system, and you've officially kicked 500 goals for the Club 18.
Oh, I'll push you up.
Well done. Well done. I wish I could run on. Yeah, cheer you up there.
You've obviously multiplied it by the number of spanners in a 6-room tool set or something.
It's something like that. But so you've alluded to the fact that the ruck, but I've alluded to some goals. Where did you play most of your footy?
For Paran, for Q, I played across the half back line. I think that might have been where I started the first season in Paran. And then I think someone left. The full forward left. And I sort of put my hand up for it. I just had never played there before, never really had any interest before, but because the space opened up, I think the coach at the time, Dave Maguire, said, "Oh well, if you want to give it a go, then it's for you." So we'll try it out. So I tried out, and I didn't really move from there since.
Amazing, because when I got there in 2000, and I watched quite a few games in the back end of the 90s there, I would have thought you were born and bred pure full forward, sort of centre half forward. But you weren't the stay-at-home type. You would often push up the ground. Thankfully for people like me that had to kick out from full back and the such. And there's there'd be some pretty lazy guys there that were like, yeah, I'm just not going to lead right now because I'm knackered. But you would provide options up the ground a lot. So cheers for that because it made me look good.
I really just looked at the bloke I was playing on. If he looked fat, then that's what I did. if he was in better shape than me, then I thought, well, what's the point in running around? I'm just going to tire myself out. I had to I made an adjustment depending on what I thought his cardio was like.
You are the thinking man's footballer. I think yourself, myself, Mark Davies, and Michael Green considered ourselves the thinking man's footballers of Club 18. But for those that haven't seen you play, which AFL player do you think you most play like?
It's a bit of a stitch up sort of a question, isn't it? Well, probably anyone with a good set of hands that couldn't kick over a jam tin, maybe like a Stewie Lowe like style player.
Wow. That's phenomenal. I was trying to find someone myself that I could liken you to, but there was the athleticism, but then and the hands, because you always had amazingly great hands. You could take a great pack mark, but your kicking was extremely accurate. But you had a unique ball drop and kicking style. Can you talk us through that?
It's funny because I never knew that I had a bad kicking style. I didn't play a lot of junior footy at all, and obviously if I had, someone would have picked it up. But I got too old, and I had this kicking style that in my mind I thought was fine. The funny thing is that you never really know what you look like through other people's eyes.
No.
And it wasn't until Scott Hayward brought a video camera down to a game once, and we were all watching it after the game, and I took a mark. Well, the first time it was in the first quarter, I took a mark, and I was kind of like, yeah, well, I guess that's sort of what I would thought me taking a chest mark would look like, and that sort of stuff. And then I'm lining up for goal, and I walked in, and I saw my own kicking style for the first time. I was shocked. I was shocked. I was like, what the hell was that? And everyone was like, well, mate, that's your kicking style. And I go, you are joking me. You are joking me. So that's what they've been going on about for years as I'm lining up for your show. Oh, nice kicking style, Cougar. Nice kicking style. That's what I was getting sledged about for years. In my mind, I thought, these blokes don't know what they're talking about. And so it was only when I saw myself on video that I realised what the big fuss was over.
You used to almost kick the ball out of your hands, which is why it was so accurate. But it does, you do say there was a lot of abuse, and you're a great player, so people were trying to put you off, and they'd say stuff like nice kicking style and come on elephants, referencing your iconic tats, and some of the opposition players would also taunt you, wouldn't they?
Yeah. It was really the Haywards and a couple of other blokes that there was, as I was lining up for goal, they would be right in my ear, and of course there's no 5 metre rule or anything like that, and I'd look over to the umpire, and he'd sort of shrug his shoulders and go, well, what do you expect me to do? They're on your side. And they would just, and the opposition would be like, well, there's nothing for us to do here. It's all being done for us. So I got used to it.
There was one guy I remember one day, and he kicked 5 straight. And he kept going, oh, come on, elephants, great kicking style. And after the 5th goal, I said, mate, that's 5 straight. I think I might park the nice kicking style abuse, good luck, mate. But I did.
All he had to do was videotape me doing it and show me the kicking style. It would have put me off for the rest of the game because it was ugly. But I think the reason I did it is I was so scared on a windy day that the ball was going to move around between sort of hand and foot. So I just took all wind out of the equation and pretty much just dropped it straight on the laces, 2-handed.
Mate, I knew I was doing this interview, so I went down to Harrison Tattoo today. They hooked me up, special COVID style. So all the viewers there, you can see now that I've gone and got...
Holy shit! What the hell? I'm impressed, man. I'm impressed.
It's about time I got inked.
That is pretty impressive.
No, actually, Brock drew that on for me tonight. So we got the highlighters out.
Really, really good stuff. Champagne comedy, Rhino.
I obviously shot out a note asking for a bit of feedback, and I the usual suspects, so O'Day and Scotty Hayward, wrote back to me. Obviously, they had to share the forward line with you, or as Scotty Hayward said, I was told by Cougar to get out of the forward line and to at no point in time lead my man anywhere near you. So he reckons he spent the whole day trying to lead into Gardner Creek. But at the first quarter, he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, if I hadn't had it my way, he would have just run straight out to his car with his player on him, jumped in the car and driven off. You know, I did like my space. Wasn't always the case in Club 18, but stay out of my V was the call.
O'Day reckons that he would try and play up to like the younger, more athletic players and say, surely you're brave and willing enough to try and help your teammate there. But look, Cougar's killing your mate. Go and give him a hand or something like that. And that you'd get in there and bust a pack, and the ball would dribble his way, and he'd be able to sneak a goal that way.
Oh yeah, he wasn't fooling me, the wily old fox. I knew exactly what he was up to.
I can just imagine him. So lots of good times up forward. But tell me about the time that you started at full back.
So to this day, I still don't know whether it was stupidity or a joke, but Nigel McPherson was the captain, and he went out to toss the coin, and he sort of said to us, "Okay, boys, we're going with the wind." And I should have known something was up because I was standing at the top of the goal square, and the opposition, they were there, but they weren't really next to me. So there was a bloke sort of standing sort of 5 metres that way and another one sort of 10 metres that way. I remember thinking, listen, I know we haven't played you blokes before, but I am full forward. Some type of respect would be nice, I guess. Anyway, the ball goes up and it gets tapped to Jimmy Zizi, who just clears the pack, takes a bounce and kicks the goal straight through the middle. And it was their goal umpire. And he's just given one of those ones. And I've turned around and given him an almighty bake. I said, mate, it's gone straight through the goals. You're a cheat. All you guys are cheats. You're just cheating. And he goes to me, mate, you're going the other way. I go, ooh. So I went and got the ball. And, I kicked out from full back while there's just chaos happening. Everyone's sort of running everywhere. I ran straight down the middle of the ground to get to where I should have been. And by the time I got there, the ball had worked its way around the wing, and I took a mark because they didn't know, the other opposition didn't know it was actually a brilliant foil. The opposition didn't know what was going on either. So I ran straight down the ground, took a mark, and kicked the goal. So it all happened in the first 5 minutes. A kick out, run straight down the ground, and kick a goal. And my memories of that game, I ended up getting 13. Yeah. And on the radio, Craig Hutchinson had a show called Local Legends.
Oh, was it?
I think it was Local Legends. And he caught a whiff of the story, and he gave me a call, and I talked on the radio station about what happened for a couple of minutes. And then, as a prize, a pallet of Tui's New arrived during the week. This truck rolls up, and I've got a pallet of Tui's New, and I thought, we will never get through this, but we did.
We did. And was that controversial because of your Victoria Bitter sponsorship?
After that scene we did for the VB box, my agent was pretty quiet after that.
Tell everyone what happened, who you were, and what went on.
Hang on, with the VB box?
Yeah.
Kane worked for VB, and he was looking for some strapping young lads for a photo shoot.
Yes.
And it involves, I think, having a few beers and eating pizza.
Yes.
While someone took photos of us.
Yes.
And I thought, well, we don't have to really, that's no acting. I mean, we love having pizzas and drinking beers.
Yes.
So that's what we did. The makeup lady did.
It wasn't a commercial because you were the most wooden of everyone. Yet you and Jace got all the screen time.
Yeah. He got front on. I sort of got a profile, and Deeks
got the back of his head.
Yeah, he kind of got that.
Mickey G and I got nothing.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess, even the back of their heads better than nothing. But we got a few beers and a pizza out of it.
Look, I cried myself to sleep all year over that. It was terrible.
But, it's as prestigious as the Wheaties box when you think about it.
Oh, look. So we covered a couple of the funny bits. Have you got some of your favourite memories as a player?
Well, I mean, as a player, kicking the 100 goals personally was a pretty big achievement.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that year to have a great midfield that were feeding me just lace out time after time, and they took great pleasure. And every time I kicked a bit of a haul and people were high-fiving, they had this saying, and it'll stick with me forever, just, in case I get ahead of myself. And it was, feed a bitch enough cakes, she's going to get fat. So that was that stuck with me through my career. And so it was the midfielders, and also an unsung hero was Chris Smith, who was our goal umpire.
Yes.
And I always knew with Chris Smith that if I kicked the ball high enough, he'd give me probably an extra foot on either side of the goal. So my routine, I'd always sort of look around the guy on the mark to see who the goal umpire was. And if it was Chris Smith, I knew that, I'd have this little bit of extra space on either side of the goalpost if I kicked it high enough. And on the day of to try to get 100 goals, I think I needed 6. And it was the last home and away game of the season, and we were playing Zavs. And it was a dead rubber. We were both in the finals, but because we hated each other, we weren't going to give each other a centimetre. We were going to push each other all the way. But it really was a dead rubber, except for this 100-goal thing, which my team knew. And they knew that at any chance they were going to kick it to me. But Xavier knew as well. So I was on 3 blokes. I started on 3 blokes. There's a bloke standing in front of me, a bloke standing behind me. The guy behind whispers in my ear, "You're not getting 100 today." So I knew, the cat's out of the bag. So it was on. And I had a pretty quiet half. But maybe in the third quarter or the last quarter, I ended up taking a mark for the 100th goal. And I did my thing. I look around the corner, and there's Sniffer, Smitty. And, he's the goal umpire. So I think, thank God, I've got a bit of extra space on either side of the goalpost. I kick it. It went through. And, people come around to congratulate you. And Chris Smith was about the second bloke to grab me. He didn't have time to do this. He certainly didn't have time to wave the flags. He's around me, hugging me and jumping up and down. I remember thinking, what the hell are you doing on the ground hugging me? And I thought, well, he's probably had a hand at about 15 of those 100 goals. So, fair enough. Fair play.
Mate, scenes. It was great to watch. It was great to have an armchair ride on that one. It was amazing. Season 2002.
Yeah, enough cakes. I got enough cakes that year. And then there was, I love the milestone games that blokes played. Mordo, a.k.a. Casper the Ghost, running out there with the tanning cream all over him. It was the darkest man on the ground. He usually runs out there the palest.
Because Powder, I was all white. We used to call him Powder all the time.
Yeah, and he's run out this day on his 100th game, and his tan's better than Howie's. And Nigel's 100, with the banner that said 100 shit games that Nigel had to run through. But one of the ones that'll stick with me was the Braveheart game.
Yeah.
Where someone must have got hold of some blue zinc cream. I think it was in the middle of winter, so no one needed zinc cream, let alone blue zinc cream. And someone obviously just seen Braveheart because they brought it down, thought it was a good idea. We painted half our faces blue.
Yes.
And
I think Ant Lawrence is the driver of this one.
It's Ant Lawrence. Well, I'll have to draw a picture. But so we're all training. We're all running around laughing at each other in the warm-ups, and we all got blue faces. And we set up.
When the game was about to start, where did everyone start?
So the game's about to start. That's it, yeah. And we're going up this way, right? And they set up in an orthodox sort of position, full back, pockets, wings, that sort of thing. And we set up like this.
Every single player.
Just across the back line, every single player like that. The umpire didn't know what to do. Their team didn't know what to do.
No one.
And the umpire. Sorry?
There's no one.
Didn't know what to do. And but Deeks knew what to do. They were about to ball up the ball, And he, in his best sort of William Wallace, has just gone, hold, and then they bowled the ball up, and the ruckman tapped it down to their player, and Deeks has gone, charge! And we just ran at him, and obviously using this diagram here, they just tap it down, and they just kick it over our head to this bloke just standing here who just takes them up.
How many? First quarter?
But I remember he kicked the point. So actually doing it didn't hurt us that bad, but we're off our game because my recollection is we're down maybe 7 goals.
7
at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah. So I was goal umpire.
Yeah.
I was injured. But
well, you would remember more than me. What happened after that?
Well, we were well down, and we reset at the end of the quarter time. Got a couple of goals back, but we were definitely well down. We were down by 40 to 50 points at halftime. Got everyone together, and then you went nuts in the second half. So you kicked 1 or 2 in the third quarter, and we got our way back. And then there was just that glimmer of hope. And I think you kicked 5 or 6 in the last quarter. And it was down to the last seconds. And there's a guy, and I racked my brains the other night. I was texting Ivac, and I couldn't get hold of him. His name was Jezza. And Jezza got slung in a tackle just as the siren, as the ball was bouncing. So he's slung the ball, he's kicked it as he's slung, and it's going round, and it bounces. It gets to the line. It bounces across the line and hits the back of the post without ever crossing the line. And the siren goes, and we lost by 3 points. But it was some kind of comeback, and they just had no answer for you. And then they were just so you-centric that they were giving away frees and everything else. But it was 30 minutes of footy that you just absolutely killed them. I had a box seat to watch it. Unfortunately, Jezza, we never saw him again. And so we called him Kaiser Schürze. He just disappeared.
Well, I mean, those sort of games and the Viking game with the Viking helmets, I can't help but feel, because we just thought we were being funny. We're sort of being funny characters or whatever.
Yep.
But I remember thinking the opposition must think, we just arrogance, just turd. Just, like, what are they doing? Because these blokes are out there before the game, and obviously it wasn't the most professional comp, but they're stretching and doing their thing. And, we're running around with Viking hats on and blue faces, and it's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it.
The guys from old Ivanhoe just used to get stuck into me all the time about the fact that we used to celebrate kicking barrels. And they used to get me because I'm like, it's not arrogant, it's celebrating the barrel,
Yeah.
Whether anyone kicked it, we celebrated it.
We thought we were the funniest side, but we were probably the most hated.
Oh, no, we weren't the most hated. That's for sure.
No, we hated them the most.
They were the most hated, but the most respected. We were probably the second and the least respected. But you missed the 98 finals campaign. Can you recall why you missed that finals campaign or grand final campaign?
Recall it. It's every time I catch up with anyone, it's brought up. I had an overseas holiday booked. I was in Belgium.
And you told Dave Maguire and Ivac 3 weeks out.
Yeah, well, making the finals was touch and go that year, so I didn't really want to be the bearer of bad news. And I probably, in all fairness, didn't do my calculations with the calendar very well, so I might have left it a little bit too late.
Using the Georgian or the something else?
Yeah, I don't know, but what I remember is being devastated that I missed it, and being in Brussels by the email.
Yeah.
Because it was before sort of WhatsApp and these sort of things, and expecting someone to email me just to let me know. Because before I left, I said, just let me know straight away. So anyone can get to a computer, email me and let me know. So I wake up in the morning, I check my emails, nothing. Go back and check them every 5 minutes. 2 or 3 days, I was checking my emails and it was nothing. And I was thinking to myself, it could be really good news or it could be bad news. I mean, these blokes are either, well into Mad Monday and they haven't given me a second thought and they're just, passing out in the gutter, or they just don't want to tell me what happened. Blame me.
I watched your second semi. You played Lilydale at Clifton Hill and you kicked 5 that day. I'd busted my hand and was out of the final series for Peninsula, so I went up and watched that, and you ripped him a new one up there, and then you kicked a bag in the prelim as well. So I know Ivac especially, he was like, bleh. But
it does get brought up from time to time.
Who were the best players or characters that you played with at the club, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to play with a lot of great players. Some of them, towards the end of their career when I first started, weren't at their peak of their powers, but they just showed glimpses. Your Mick O'Days and Terry Lucases and these sort of guys. Right through, and they've all been named before, Bergs and Stores and Deeks and these sort of guys. I love playing with. Probably from a personal point of view, I love playing with Butsy. He was a guy who I went to primary school with. We had a really good. We kicked the footy in the court, kicked the footy down the park since we were little tackers. So we always had a really good sort of feeling of what we we're going to do. So playing the forward line with him meant a lot. Our families are really close. But the best season I think I saw from sort of round 1 to the finals was the season that Justin played, Evie. He had a ripper this year, just tough as nails. He was a skillful player, but he was at the bottom of every pack. He got bashed from pillar to post by these bigger guys who's getting tagged and hung off every week.
Yep.
And I remember that year that he played, I'm not sure which one it was, but it might have been 2. Actually, think about it. I think he beat me in my 100-goal kicking year. He beat me in the best and fairest. I kicked 100 goals in 13 games, and I think he beat me and deserved it, and like thoroughly deserved it. He had a ripper that year. But I also I got to give a shout out to the backline players through the years, like yourself and Mordo, CJ, Hollywood, these type of guys.
So
I mean, it really
so underrated, Hollywood. So
yeah,
cheers, H.
Yeah, it's a thankless task back there, being accountable and stuff. We wouldn't have won any games. We wouldn't have won any games without these blokes. I mean, I ran down there once and broke my collarbone, so it was clearly too tough. It was too tough for me. I ran down. I didn't even make it all the way down. I made it to the half back line, snapped my collarbone in half, and I thought, never again. It's too tough for me. So shout out to the defenders, both current and past.
Yeah, cheers to that. Cheers to all you halfback flankers. Love you. So apart from that collarbone, you also had a near season-ending or career-ending injury that people overlook. Tell us about that. Tell us about your finger.
I always had trouble with my fingers, just dislocating them, and just there. It's in shocking, Nick. Just purely through football, they continually popped out. So I was always sort of running over the bench, and the trainer would put them in, and I eventually got pretty good at putting them back in myself after a while. I got a knock on one, and I couldn't put it back in, and severed the tendon. So that's sort of as straight as that one goes. But it's just a pinky, nothing to worry about.
Played about 4 or 5 years for that, didn't you?
Yeah. So I tried to tape it to the next one, but you can see that, taping just is no good.
Mate, it's a fair effort for you to do that. Yeah, unbelievable. So 2017, there was a real buzz around. WhatsApp was lighting up. Socials were going crazy. The talk of Cougar coming back. So the return game, what happened?
Yeah, probably the most embarrassing moment on a footy field I've ever had. I've had a few. It was about 2:30 in the morning on a whiskey tasting night that Faz and I were in the city, where I was very vulnerable. And he asked me to come down to play one game, which I agreed to. But it was the whiskey talking. That's all it was talking. And in the morning, I woke up and I thought, I hope he was as drunk as me, because he wouldn't remember that. And I thought, I've got away with this until WhatsApp lit up in the afternoon, and then by then it was too late. So I thought, I'm a man of my word. I've got to go down there. I did. I bought a new pair of footy boots. I was scrounging around for a mouthguard that I couldn't find, so I thought, I'm not going to have a mouthguard. Did the warm-up. Felt all right, actually. And then about a minute into the game, someone, it wouldn't have even been a minute, maybe, someone got the ball out of the middle and kicked it down, and I took off on a lead, and I heard a little click. I thought, what was that? And then I took the next step, and then a slightly bigger one. And I thought, oh, it's me. It's me clicking. And then I just felt this excruciating pain in my calf, and I had the indignity I had to crawl off the ground, like an Indian crawl off the ground, where the trainer goes, the good news is it's not your Achilles, but the bad news is you've ripped the calf off the bone, you need an operation. So that was my big comeback. And I've got to say that up until that moment, even though it was years and years after my real last game, my brain, it still felt like I could do it. Like, your brain doesn't change that much, but your body does. And after that calf thing, any sort of questions that my brain had were answered.
Yeah. New boots, that's amazing considering I think you played for 2 seasons and I wouldn't know what brand boots they were because you had them taped up with electrical tape wrapped around them. They were almost not really boots. They were like jandals or something. Nigel McPherson remembers that as well. So how the hell you made that?
I did do that. They were pretty crappy boots, but I had a thing that with my shoelaces, I didn't like to kick the ball with my shoelaces sticking out, so it was to cover up the shoelaces so it didn't go left or right. Whether that's a scientific fact or not, it was more sort of in my mind. But, I mean, I was lucky I brought boots down at all. I was a rabble, Rhino, of a player. A rabble. I was an unorganised mess. I was the guy that forgot to sort of wash his stuff after a game and then would open up the bag and would stink out the whole joint. And one game, I remember I forgot my socks. So I said, has anyone got a spare pair of socks? And Hollywood goes, oh, yeah, I do. They're in the car. And I don't know if you remember, other people remember, Hollywood had this beautiful old Holden, 1970s Holden. I don't remember, what serial it was or make it was, but it was, what was it, model?
HR,
yeah. And it was a real pimpmobile. It had sky blue panels and a white roof. It was really distinctive. And I saw it as I was driving in. And he goes, okay, so here's the keys. So I ran off to his car. And obviously cars of that vintage don't have, the central locking. So I've walked up and I've put the key in and I've turned it. And it's a little bit clunky. And I've just gone, but it's an old car. And I've turned it's gone clunk. And it's just snapped off in my hand. So I go, oh my God, Hollywood's going to kill me. So I ran all the way back and I told him what happened. I said, man, Holly, I'm so sorry. Was there something wrong with your key? Is it an old key or something? Because it's just snapped off. And he just looked at the key. He's going, oh, geez. He goes, is that why you were so long? And I said, no, I was so long because you parked miles away. He goes, I didn't park miles away. I'm parked over there. And we've looked at each other for about 10 seconds and it's dawning on us that I've just gone to the wrong car. So now Hollywood's got to call his missus to come in with the spare keys. Some bloke, I don't even know, has got a key snapped off on his car and I still don't have any socks.
It's gold.
It hasn't solved the sock problem. I was always losing things and forgetting things. So, buying a pair of boots and bringing them to the game was a big thing for me.
I just remember my first pre-season, we were training with the seniors and everything else. We went to a pracky match out at Bulleen Temp. And in one passage of play, it was Hollywood to me to Dave Green, couldn't be in better hands to sort of kick it to you. Kicks to you, you take this towering mark, bang, kick the goal, siren goes at the end. Tony Free is cock-a-hoop. He's thinking, look at all these recruits I've got. He fed income. He was looking at you and he was harder than a Chinese spelling test. He was ready to rock and roll. And did they put a lot of pressure on you that year to try and get you into the senior club?
They did. I remember it was a tough question to answer because we sat down and had a meal, a group of us, and he said, well, if we're one club, Paran, why can't I take the best players from Paran and put them in the first? And I kind of thought about it, and I just didn't have a really good answer. I just said, well, because you can't. And the thing was, the team itself, I mean, when Q had enough of us, we didn't really care because a lot of people play for the jumper and do that sort of stuff. For me personally, it wouldn't matter if we played in any jumper, nipple pink coloured jumper. It meant nothing. It was the blokes who were playing me that meant something. So to keep the peace, I think I played each year for that period of time that Freezer was down there. I had to play a minimum of like 3 or 4 games for the seniors, and that seemed to appease them a little bit, and it helped relations with them. But I mean, I hated it.
You played a ripper game. They had a relegation game. Remember, they were in trouble, and both you and Butts played. I think Butts played across half forward. You played wing, but you still kicked. I think you kicked 5 or 6 between the two of you. Really, really stuck your hand up, and we were all there. It was unreal. That's the thing that people go, oh yeah, but it's Club 18 and whatever else. But you guys really brought it when you went and played for them as well. So there's no flies on you guys.
Yeah, we did. And to have your whole team come in and watch you play, for the first level was fantastic. So, listen, I hated playing for them. I was trying to win a goal kicking competition in another league, and I was getting dragged out and playing for these blokes.
Hey, but credit too, though, that the seniors and the seconds and everything came and watched us play finals. It was great.
True.
Great to have their support. I could hear them in the crowd. I can remember at Elsonwick Park one day, and we played D-Lar, and they were giving us a pump, and when we were copping it against Zabs, they were getting behind us, which was really good.
And also, a lot of those guys in the twilight of their career that still wanted to wear the jumper and come down and came and played for us and brought a lot.
Yeah.
So Will and these sort of guys, I remember coming down. It was a good time, really.
Yeah, it's great. Quick word association to run through. The first thing that comes to your mind, you can feel free to extend, tell a story, do anything you want to do.
Oh God.
Word is fine. David Butterworth.
I mean, he's a great man, Butsy, but his shoulders were a nightmare.
Yeah.
And every time, I watched him get hurt so much with his shoulders. I mean, he used to literally sneeze, and they'd pop out. And so
the tennis ball and his shoulder came out.
It was a real worry. And I remember he was generally playing sort of one position up, 30, 40, 50, 60 metres up on the ground, and every time he'd go up for a mark, I was, not this one, because, it was just a matter of time before, one of his shoulders popped out. Most of the time he could sort of put it back in. I remember once I was on the bench. I might have broken my collarbone or something, but he jumped up in the air and hurt his fingers. And I was the finger guy in the club because I knew how to, get them back in. And he's come across and gone, oh, Cougs, I've hurt my fingers. And I go, bring him over here, mate. Dr. Cougs will sort you out. I'll be able to put him in. And he held him out, and the bone's sticking through. There's blood pouring down his arm. There's just flesh popping out everywhere.
Old bright.
And yeah, so I said, okay, Butsy, let's just jump in the car. Don't look at it. Don't look. Jump in my car. We'll go to hospital. I'll give your mum a call. We'll sort it out. So, Butsy's a ripper. He's a ripper.
Faz.
Oh, we're going from a ripper to a lesser bloke. I met Faz at the academy. Brought him down and figured that from what I knew of him, he was going to fit into this club. And I didn't expect the chain reaction that happened after that. It opened up a whole network of blokes to come down. And that's what the beauty of Club 18 does. You bring someone down, they bring 3 or 4 more blokes down, and you've got this network of fellas that you just would never have interacted with before.
Yeah.
The beauty of Faz is he looked like he never cared, but he always gave his all. He gave his all on and off. I mean, he did a lot of, like a lot of guys, a lot of behind the scenes work, admin wise, coaching wise, and with the Two Blues, it's been a thing where a lot of the time that sort of stuff, too much is left for too few.
Yeah.
Probably the best thing he ever did was bring him down on the Two Blues.
Yeah. Scott Hayward.
What can you say about Scotty? One of my favourite memories for Scotty was when we did the auction. It was a club idea to make money for the footy trip, and I held this auction where someone had to donate something, and each week we'd sort of donate things. And Scotty thought outside the box and did a match day experience, which involved, I can't remember who won it, but it involved him taking someone out for breakfast, driving them to the game. I remember him in a sort of a chauffeur outfit, opening the door with the umbrella over, coming inside. I don't even remember who the guy was who won it. Might have been Belly, who won it. But all I can see is Scotty in this sort of suit outfit with a thing. He ran water exclusively to that fella. He barracked exclusively for that fella for the whole game. So Scotty's just a character.
Yeah. And Marco.
Who's that?
As Tasmania footy trip.
Yeah. Yes. So I've forgotten. So we were down in Tasmania staying at Pop's pub.
Yes.
And Pop was an unusual owner of the pub. I'm convinced he'd lost his marbles completely, because you would go and pay. You'd say, "Oh, can I have 4 beers?" And you'd go and give him $20, and you just never knew what change you would get back. Sometimes you get none. Sometimes you get $22, and it was almost like having a poker machine in the pub. You'd come back and you'd go, "Oh, I lost," or you'd come back and go, "Oh, I've win at the pop machine over there," It was a unusual pub filled with unusual people staying in there, mostly crack whores. The bedding was seedy at best. I was concerned that, in some of the rooms you'd lie down and get stuck with a needle. So when everyone chose their rooms, I went down and stole a key to another room, and I had my own little room by myself.
And you were hiding.
Yeah, I was hiding. So people go, "Where are you staying?" I go, "I'm staying with someone." I go, "That's funny. They said you're not staying with them. What room are you in?" And I was pretty keen to protect my room. And there was, for want of a better word, a vigilante group out trying to find out what room I was in. And I could hear them stomping up and down the hallway. And they were kicking doors open. Because people...
That wasn't a vigilante group. That was just me.
Oh, was it? Well, you sounded like a vigilante group with a pitchfork and things. And I could...
I kicked that guy's door in, and then he's standing there and having a go at me, and I get this text message, and as the guy's abusing me, I pull it out, I look at my phone, and you write, "Polo," on the text message.
Yeah, because I knew you'd find me eventually, but I just thought, I'll have a bit of fun Marco Polo-wise with you for a while. And that was a Tassie footy trip, which is a great trip. I love the Tassie trip.
Any other trip memories you want to cover off, or you're happy?
Well, they do say that what happens on a footy trip stays on a footy trip, but I got to tell one story, and that was at Byron Bay when I was sharing a room with Faz and Joffa. Do you remember Joff?
Yes.
And good footballer, Joffa. And we had bunk beds, and I was on the bottom, and there was no one above me, and then Joff was on the bottom, and Faz was above him. We'd all had a big night. And I woke up in the morning and I was just, where am I? And I look across on the bedding at Joff, and he had his arm in plaster. And it turns out that he got kicked out of Cheeky Monkeys, and to get back in, he was climbing on a fence, and the bouncer kicked the fence, and he wobbled, fell off, broke his arm. But I didn't know that story at all. So I just woke up and I just saw Joff with a broken arm. I was like, "Bloody hell, Joff, what happened to you, mate?" And then he sort of wakes up and sort of looking at his arm, like, oh. He looks back at me and goes, "Bloody hell, Cougs, what happened to you, mate?" And then I look at myself and I'm just covered in vomit, black vomit from Guinness, all over me. And to make matters worse, I had my bag with all my clean clothes in next to the bed open, and I've thrown up on clothes that I hadn't even worn yet. And we're just looking at each other, just surveying this disaster zone. And then this head just pops over the bunk and goes, "What happened to you blokes?" And we said, what the bloody happened to you, Faz? What the hell? And half of his face was just a weeping scab, like Harvey Two-Face from Batman, just half of it like that. And we're all looking at each other. You know, I'm just wiping Guinness and souvlaki off me. And then Stores comes in and goes, oh, this room stinks. You boys got to come for breakfast. And that was, and it was just a war zone. It was a war zone.
They're good fun. I've enjoyed every minute of every trip ever, mate. Don't worry about that. All right, we've gone on. This will be the longest one for sure. Anything I'm involved in will always be the longest. Thank you, Cougar. As I said, you're 2 Blues and Club 18 royalty. It was an honour to pull the jumper on with you. I had the best seat in the house, as I've said, when you tore up sides. No more fitting term than a legend for you. Thanks for joining us today. Is there anything that you want to say and finish off with to the current players and give them a message?
Yeah, to the current boys, just to elaborate what I was saying before about getting people down. The 2 Blues, we've never had the luxury that a lot of these school sides have had, where they've got this magic pudding of recruits just coming through year after year through the school system. So I've always had to rely on bringing someone down from work, or bringing your cousin down, or someone that's come down from interstate or overseas or whatever. You just have to continue doing that. You just never know where these things are going to branch off and what networks they're going to be. And the survival of the club really sort of relies on blokes bringing blokes down. I mean, you don't get any younger, and by bringing these blokes down, you just have to keep doing it. And really just, like what everyone else has said, just enjoy it. It goes quick. I mean, I went down, I didn't know anyone. In fact, the only bloke I thought I did know, I got his name wrong at the first time down there. And I've made lifelong friends. I've got fantastic memories, and I just loved every second of it. So my advice is just to enjoy it while you can.
Fantastic, mate. Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. Absolute.
Cheers, Ryan.
Thanks, Cougs.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, mate. So there you have it, ladies and gents. The man, the myth, Cougar. Hopefully this holds up to the lofty standards that Anthony Lawrence has set in these early weeks. We look forward to some more guest interviewers and legends soon. Signing off for this week, team. Remember, we are the mighty Club 18.